Elise Eden, part of Azure Standard, was created for people who care about being thoughtful with what they buy, what they eat, and where it comes from. Growing even a small garden is a simple way to live that out. With healthy plant starts grown in Oregon from trusted non-GMO seeds, along with quality garden essentials, Elise Eden makes it easier to begin. Gardening helps you slow down, choose carefully, and stay connected to real food and the land. Learn more about Elise Eden at azurestandards.com.
Looking for these better days.
It is Wednesday, April 22nd. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. LeBron James turns back the clock as the Lakers take a 2-0 series lead over the Rockets. Victor Wembanyama goes down, and the Celtics system unlocked for game number 3. Let's talk NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. Last night in the NBA, the Philadelphia 76ers evened up their series with the Boston Celtics at a game apiece, a 111-97 victory as VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey combined for 59 points, making 11 three-pointers as the Sixers really surged in that second quarter and went on to defeat the Celtics. And the question that people were, at least up in my mentions and asking me about, does this now unlock the Celtics system? So for those of you who are just tuning in and you're not really aware of what I'm talking about, well, during the regular season for the past several years, Mackenzie Rivers and I have been tracking this, and what we do is we bet on the opposing team's team total to go under in the games after the Celtics lose. So this has been something that's been extremely profitable going back several seasons. This season in particular, in the games after the Celtics lose, they follow it up by going 20-6 straight up, 18-8 against the spread. In those games, in those 26 games, the opposing team total has gone under 18 times. So it's 18-8 to the opposing team totals going under. Same thing as their ATS numbers, 18-8. But now let's go back for the past several seasons and let's track if in fact the Celtics system is profitable in the playoffs. So in the playoffs, get this, since the 2021 season, in the games following the Celtics losing in the playoffs, they are 18-6, both straight up and against the spread. And their opponent's team total is 16-8 to the under. However, inside those 8 overs for the opposing team totals, again, this is since the 2021 season, 2 of those teams went over their team total by 1 point. So think about that. And one of them went over by 2 points. So you were like so close to this being either 18-6, just like their straight up an ATS record after a loss, or even better, like 19-5 to the opponent's team total to go under. So the answer is yes. I am firing up the Celtics system for game number 3 coming up on Friday when the Celtics take on the Sixers in Philadelphia. Your current odds up on FanDuel for that game number 3. Celtics minus 7.5 with a total of 215.5. And so the team total for the Philadelphia 76ers, at least the early line right now, 104.5. So yes, I will go under the 104.5 for the Philadelphia 76ers in game number 3. Elsewhere, the Blazers, a 106-103 upset victory over the Spurs, evening up their series at a game apiece. The big story from this one, Victor Wembanyama going out with a concussion after he tumbled, really got, kind of tied up with the defensive player, and he seemed off balance. He falls to the ground, but hits his head. And if you watch the replay, it didn't look good. He hit his head pretty hard on the ground. I'm not saying he was out cold, but he looked like he was out there for a second. Wemby only played 11 minutes in last night's game, 12 minutes, I guess, is the official box score. He scored 5 points on 1 of 3 shooting, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. And according to ESPN's Shams Charania, per NBA guidelines, Victor Wembanyama cannot return to full participation for 48 hours, but can resume gradual activity in 24 hours as long as his symptoms don't worsen. Then he must hit several benchmarks while being symptom free before he is cleared to play. He'll then require clearance from the team doctor in consultation with league protocol director. That, according to Shams on Twitter. So if we look at the line right now for game number 3 between the Spurs and the Blazers, Spurs right now up on FanDuel, 1.5-point road favorites in Portland. Now, this is a major adjustment, obviously, in the lines from where they were with the Spurs being at home. Last night, the Spurs were 11.5-point favorites, and that was in line with what they were in game number 1 when they were 12-point favorites or 12.5-point favorites. So clearly this line is factoring in Wemby not playing. Like, naturally, you're going to get the zigzag, right? Because, it's not the zigzag because the Spurs lost the game, but meaning you're flipping home court, right? So naturally, you're going to get the built-in adjustment for the game being in Portland versus being in San Antonio. But then, of course, this line is factoring in Victor Wembanyama not playing. Now, 24 hours, so later on tonight, he could resume some activity, but maybe not until tomorrow. He can't return to full participation for 2 days. So we're talking about tomorrow at the earliest returning to participation, or tomorrow night, Friday morning, really at the earliest. It's very likely that he is not going to play on Friday night. Now, the Spurs can still win this series without Victor Wembanyama. Like, they are that much better than the Portland Trailblazers. And if you look at the odds currently up on FanDuel, the Spurs minus 550 to win that series over the Blazers, despite the possibility of Wemby not playing in game number 3. And with the line in that game only a 1 to 1.5 point spread, maybe the Blazers take a 2-1 series lead. If that is the case, if Portland wins game 3, I think you have a real opportunity to come back in and buy on the San Antonio Spurs to win this series. They'll be down 2-1. Wemby will be coming back. They'll be heavy favorites in game number 4. And then as long as they win game number 4, they will reclaim home court advantage for the series. So I think you wait and see what happens with Wemby's status for Friday. And then if he doesn't play and Portland wins, you come back in on the Spurs to win the series. The other game from last night, LeBron James turning back the clock once again as he scores 28 points with 8 boards and 7 assists, 10 of 14, by the way, from the free throw line. Lakers beat the Rockets 101-94. The Rockets closed at about 5.5 to 6-point favorites in this game. Kevin Durant did play, and he played 41 minutes last night, scoring 23 points on 7 of 12 shooting. He was 1 of 4 from 3-point range. The Lakers take a commanding 2-0 series lead here, and the same problems exist for the Rockets, even with Kevin Durant in the lineup. They can't score. 94 points last night in game number 2, 98 points in game number 1. This team cannot score. And the Lakers, right now, feeling good about themselves. They defended home court. I know the old cliche is a series doesn't begin until a team loses a home game. But right now, the Lakers feeling really good about where they are here in this series. I do think it's interesting that if you look at the series pricing, currently up on FanDuel, the Lakers only minus 126 to win the series. The Rockets plus 108. That's despite the Lakers being up 2-0. Game 3 with the series shifting to Houston will be coming up on Friday, where the Rockets 9.5-point home favorites. Now, this is an interesting subset. So I looked this up, the status of what you do in game number 3 in the NBA playoffs. If you lose, games 1, games 2, so if you lose at home, if you lose as favorites, okay. So get this. In the history of the database, if you lose games 1 and 2 as the road favorite, it's only happened one time in the history of the database, and that was in May of 2018. The Sixers lost games 1 and 2 at games 1 and 2 on the road in Boston against the Celtics as the favorite. They returned home to Philadelphia for game number 3, and the Celtics won that game also. So you are 0-1 straight up and against the spread in this situation. Again, this is the history of the database here in the playoffs in game number 3, where you lost the first 2 games on the road and you were favored in both games 1 and game 2. Tonight, just 2 games in the NBA. The Pistons will be hosting the Magic as Orlando looks to avenge a game 1 loss. Now, if you lose as a home favorite in game number 1, how do you do in game number 2? 15-6 straight up, 14-7 against the spread since 2021. However, in the first round only, 7-0 straight up in ATS since 2021. If you want to go back even further, since 2017, teams that lose as a home favorite in game 1 of the first round of the NBA playoffs, 13-1 straight up and against the spread. The Pistons tonight, 8.5-point favorites up on FanDuel, and we are laying it. Your other game for tonight, the Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the Phoenix Suns. OKC 17.5-point favorites. Totals for tonight's game, total between the Pistons and the Magic is 218.5. Total between the Suns and the Thunder is 215.5. Now, why do I bring up the totals? Because the unders have dominated the first round of the NBA playoffs. In the first round, the unders are now 12-2 after last night's results. Home teams 9-5 straight up and against the spread. Favorites 7-7 straight up and against the spread. But the unders have dominated 12-2. The only games that went over, game 2 between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, and game 1, the very first game of the first round, between the Cavaliers and the Raptors. We'll, of course, get more NBA tomorrow. Mackenzie Rivers will be back with us with 3 games to preview for Thursday night.
Nearly 1 in 10 Americans don't fall asleep in a bed. Can you relate? Do you live with one of them? Blissfully unaware how much stress that old, worn-out, ugly recliner is putting on the body? You need rest and recovery. You need a Z-Cliner, designed and engineered for sleeping with built-in heat and massage. It means all-day comfort and, finally, a good night's sleep. Don't waste another night when you could be this comfortable. Visit zcliner.com to find a retailer near you. The Z's are waiting.
Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $250 in bonus bets just for getting started. And when every possession matters in the playoffs, FanDuel makes it easy to get closer to the action. From player props and your favorite stars to all the tools you need to back them up, FanDuel puts player research right at your fingertips so you can check stats, trends, and matchups all in one place and make your picks with confidence. It's everything you need all in one app. So don't miss your shot. Head to FanDuel.com/believe. That's BLEAV to get started. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DC, Kentucky, Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org and call 800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867 in Louisiana.
In the Stanley Cup playoffs last night, we had a couple of series evened up at a game apiece, and then one series with a 2-0 series lead. And our player props just continue to deliver for Better Day Insider and Premium members. Last night, the Lightning in overtime defeated the Canadiens 3-2. In that game, we had Brendan Hagel to go over his shots on goal prop. Now, he did not go over his shots on goal prop, but if you sprinkled on an anytime goal scorer, which is what we do with our shots on goal prop players, Brendan Hagel scored the first goal of the game. So you cash the anytime goal score for Brendan Hagel. The Lightning evened up that series at a game apiece. In the second game last night, the Bruins evened up their series with the Sabres with a 4-2 victory in Buffalo. And we bet Victor Arvidsson of the Bruins to go over his shots on goal prop. We cashed that, and he also scored a goal. Not just one, he scored 2 goals. Dylan Guenther cashed for us as well as the Utah Mammoth evened up their series with the Golden Knights at a game apiece. Utah winning 3-2 last night. Guenther also scored a goal and went over his shots on goal prop. And then in the final game of the night, the Avalanche in overtime defeated the LA Kings 2-1. We had Adrian Kempe to go over his shots on goal prop, and unfortunately did not cash that one. Artemi Panarin, the only goal scorer for the LA Kings. It was a power play goal late in the third period, but Gabriel Landeskog tied the game with about 3 and change left, and then Nicholas Roy with the game winner in overtime for the Colorado Avalanche, who take a 2-0 series lead. So for those tracking at home, I mean, we gave out the records of, yesterday, when we're off to a 5-1 start with betting the player prop shots on goals, right? Well, after a 2-2 night last night, but both of those cashes being plus money prices, plus 140, plus 135, we are now 7-3 on the shots on goal player props here in the Stanley Cup playoffs first round, up 4.7 units. But this is the thing: if you took the sprinkle on the anytime goal scorer for the 10 players that we bet on for shots on goal props, 6 and 4. 6 of those players scored goals in their games, ranging anywhere from as low as about plus 185 or so to as high as high plus 300s, 350s, 380s. So it's been really good. And last night, I mean, if you just did a round robin with our 4 players last night, 3 of them scored goals in Brendan Hagel, Victor Arvidsson, and Dylan Guenther. So we're identifying the right players. It's been coming through for us, and we'll look to continue to cash as the Stanley Cup playoffs resume here tonight. So here's what's on your schedule for tonight. The Penguins at the Flyers, Game 3, with Philadelphia leading the series 2-0. Stars are at the Wild with that series tied at a game apiece. And it's Game 2 between the Ducks and the Oilers from Edmonton, with the Oilers leading 1-0. Major League Baseball make it 12 straight losses for the New York Mets after Devin Williams gives up 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning. The Twins beating the Mets 5-3 last night. And for those who are interested in playoff futures, meaning the yes/no on will the New York Mets make the playoffs, I can tell you this: no team has made the playoffs with a 12-game losing streak in the regular season. So let that sink in. No team has made the playoffs in Major League Baseball with a 12-game losing streak during the regular season. The Mets currently up on FanDuel minus 188 to miss the playoffs. The Mets to make the playoffs are plus 142 up on FanDuel. In fact, FanDuel has odds on when the Mets' next win will be. Will it be versus the Twins here tonight? Minus 160. Will it be versus the Twins in game number 3? That is plus 310. Will it be against the Rockies in game 1 of their series? Plus 500. And if you think that they're not going to win a game before April 28th, it's plus 10,000. Now, come on. Mets have to win a game, right? I mean, we just mentioned it. Tonight, they are the favorite, right? Tonight, taking on the Twins at home at Citi Field. Mets minus 160 on the money line. Clay Holmes on the mound for them. So maybe this is their chance to pick up a victory against the Twins. I mean, Noel McLean gave them a shot last night, and they still couldn't get the win. But anyway, Clay Holmes will get the start for the Mets tonight, and making his debut is Connor Prelip for the Minnesota Twins. So you got a guy making his major league debut for the Twins. Mets are minus 160. I mean, what could go wrong? Honestly, what could go wrong? Also, shout out to our Major League Baseball Game Center up on BetterDay.com. As one of our Better Day members, Red, pointed out, in our chat yesterday that the Game Center actually had two teams in our projections as the wrong team favored in the game. One of them was the Washington Nationals against the red-hot Atlanta Braves, and guess what? Nationals win outright 11-4, and the other one was the Kansas City Royals and Baltimore Orioles, where the Royals had to win 6-5 in walk-off fashion. In fact, they scored one run. The Orioles were leading by 5-4. Royals scored a run in the bottom of the eighth to tie it, and then walked it off in the bottom of the ninth. So the Game Center had both the Nationals and the Orioles favored, despite them being dogs on the actual sportsbook price. Nationals win outright. Orioles really should have won outright. Now, unfortunately, the promo is done. The promo period is done, but you can still sign up to become a Better Day Insider or Premium member. Just click on the link on our homepage at betterday.com and find out all the ways that you can take advantage of the tools and resources we have for you up on the website, as well as the picks and analysis that we provide. So join us and find out what all the hype is about with our MLB and NBA Game Centers currently up on betterday.com. Couple of day games today in baseball. The Cardinals are at the Marlins. Miami, a -136 favorite. Reds are at the Rays. Tampa Bay, -143. Astros at the Guardians. Cleveland, -143. The Orioles at the Royals. KC, -136. Blue Jays at the Angels. LA, -163. The A's are at the Mariners. Seattle, -186. And then you have 9 night games on your schedule for tonight. Now, it is Wednesday, which means we always check in Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays with the sweep avoidance, where the unders have been the dominant trend this year in the games that teams are trying to avoid the 3-game sweep. So looking at the schedule for today, it is the Rays looking to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Cincinnati Reds. And the current total in that game up on FanDuel right now is 8. So we could be looking at an under 8 between the Reds and the Rays. The under in these games are 25, 19, and 2 this season. So about 57%. All right, that'll wrap up this episode of Better Day. As a reminder, later on today, this afternoon, there will be a live stream up on the Better Day Twitter page and Better Day YouTube. Colby Marchio and Jake Hassan will be recording their Off the Board podcast, so you guys can tune in and interact with them on Twitter and YouTube as they go live this week, today, and again on Fridays. You want to make sure that you tune in and catch that, and it'll be available up on the Better Day podcast feed later on in the day. Don't forget to follow Better Day across all your social media platforms. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
Ellie's Eden, part of Azure Standard, was created for people who care about being thoughtful with what they buy, what they eat, and where it comes from. Growing even a small garden is a simple way to live that out. With healthy plant starts grown in Oregon from trusted non-GMO seeds, along with quality garden essentials, Ellie's Eden makes it easier to begin. Gardening helps you slow down, choose carefully, and stay connected to real food and the land. Learn more about Ellie's Eden at azurestandards.com.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.